The world is watching as a major shift in global diplomacy unfolds. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has made a significant visit to the United Arab Emirates, in what could be a crucial step toward potential peace talks to end Moscow's war on Ukraine. The visit comes at a time when speculation is growing about a possible deal involving not just Ukraine and Russia, but also the United States, with President Donald Trump reportedly planning to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Saudi Arabia. The implications of these events are massive, raising questions about the future of the war power dynamics and whether a real peace deal could be on the horizon. But is this truly a breakthrough, or just another diplomatic maneuver that benefits a select few while leaving Ukraine in a vulnerable position? Zelenskyy arrived in Abu Dhabi after attending the Munich Security Conference in Germany, where leaders discussed global security threats, including the ongoing war in Ukraine. Footage from his office showed him and his wife Alina Zelenska being greeted with an honor guard and top Emirati officials upon landing. This marks his first trip to the UAE since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, a visit that comes with high stakes and high expectations. According to Zelenskyy's office, the top priority of this visit is bringing home more Ukrainian prisoners of war, highlighting the ongoing humanitarian crisis caused by the conflict. But beyond that, there are other key objectives, including securing economic partnerships and investments, as Ukraine looks for ways to rebuild amid the devastation of war. Zelenskyy is also expected to discuss humanitarian programs that could provide aid and assistance to Ukrainian citizens affected by the conflict. But one of the biggest questions looming over this trip is whether the UAE will play a larger role in facilitating peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. The UAE has long been considered a potential mediator in this war due to its neutral stance, economic ties with both countries, and its past role in brokering prisoner exchanges between Kiev and Moscow. With a significant number of Russian and Ukrainian expatriates now living in the UAE, the country presents a unique opportunity for behind-the-scenes negotiations. Yet the fact that the UAE's state-run news agency, WAM, did not immediately report on Zelenskyy's arrival is unusual and raises questions about the level of transparency surrounding these discussions. While Zelenskyy's visit is generating attention, another major development is unfolding in the Middle East. US President Donald Trump has suggested he will be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Saudi Arabia, a meeting that could redefine the future of US foreign policy in the region. The idea of Trump stepping in to broker a deal between Ukraine and Russia has sent shockwaves through political circles, given that US policy under former President Joe Biden has been centered around isolating Moscow through sanctions and military aid to Ukraine. Trump's direct engagement with Putin could signal a dramatic shift in the approach to ending the war. But what does this mean for Ukraine? Is this an opportunity for a negotiated settlement that could bring peace? Or does it risk sidelining Ukraine's interests and allowing Russia to dictate the terms of an agreement? The involvement of Saudi Arabia as a possible venue for peace talks also raises strategic questions about its growing influence in global politics. Meanwhile, in Abu Dhabi, another key figure in the Russia-Ukraine conflict has also made an appearance. Denis Manturov, Russia's first deputy prime minister, met with UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan just hours before Zelenskyy's arrival. According to a readout from WAM, the two leaders discussed growing UAE-Russia ties and ways to advance shared interests. This meeting comes at a time when Russian money continues to pour into Dubai's booming real estate market, creating financial ties that complicate the UAE's ability to remain a neutral player in the conflict. Daily flights between Moscow and the UAE serve as a crucial connection for Russians fleeing conscription, as well as wealthy elites looking to move their assets away from the reach of Western sanctions. The US Treasury, under former President Joe Biden, has previously expressed concerns over the amount of Russian capital flowing into the Gulf state, raising the question of whether the UAE can truly act as a neutral mediator in peace negotiations. At the same time, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to lead a delegation to Saudi Arabia this week for direct talks with Russian officials over the war. This adds another layer of complexity to the situation, as multiple players with different interests attempt to shape the future of the conflict while Ukraine seeks to bring its people home from captivity, secure economic investments, and push for a resolution. The involvement of the US, Russia, and Middle Eastern powers raises concerns about who will ultimately benefit from these talks. The big question remains, what exactly would a Trump-Putin peace deal look like? Would it require Ukraine to make territorial concessions? Would it lead to an end of Western military aid to Ukraine? Would it provide Russia with an opportunity to regroup and rearm before launching further offensives? And how would European allies react to an agreement that does not include their direct involvement? These are the questions that are fueling intense debates among analysts and policymakers. For Ukraine, the stakes could not be higher. Zelensky's visit to the UAE and the broader diplomatic maneuvers happening in the region could determine the next phase of the war and whether a negotiated settlement is even possible. But as history has shown, peace deals can be fragile and often come with compromises that are not always in the best interests of all parties involved. As these high-stakes discussions unfold, the world is watching to see whether this is a genuine attempt at peace or simply another chapter in the long and complex struggle for power and influence in the region. One thing is certain: the decisions made in the coming weeks could reshape the geopolitical landscape for years to come. So the real question is, will these peace talks truly bring an end to the war, or are they just another diplomatic game being played at Ukraine's expense?